So Anne, I've got a couple of questions for you. I've got two, but I'll turn it into five. What do you look for in a CV?
I'm looking for personality more than anything. I'm not convinced that qualifications make somebody good for a job necessarily.
You don't think?
No. I suppose what I'm talking about is kind of, say, a journalism job or an assistant job or something like that, or another. I think if it's a job in the industry, if it's a sales job, I'm looking for somebody with sales experience. But if it's journalism, somebody doesn't necessarily have to have done a journalism degree to get my attention. I think it's a great opportunity if you want to be a writer to show how well you can write in your CV. I don't just want to see a list of experience and qualifications. I want to see somebody's writing
Sort of a flair.
Yeah.
And what about as a fashion stylist for styling? You probably want to see more than just.
Yeah, the book's important, and a bit like you, I know that you would prefer to see something in a book rather than online. And I like to see prints, and I like to see tears. It's proof that somebody's done the work, and you can, if you know the industry and you're in it, you can identify somebody's wear style. I think it's easier for artists who are going out on appointments to have their book on an iPad. It's just lighter to carry, and also in terms of your agent biking your book all over the place, it's expensive to bike your portfolio, and then it sits there for 3 days and somebody doesn't look at it and the agent's calling it back and it hasn't been looked at. So having a website or having an online portfolio helps. But I think it's nice. I suppose you and I
an addendum, shouldn't it?
Yeah, you and I are a bit more old school, and I know that a lot of people now just simply want to see the image, but I think you can see the quality of the image and the work much more clearly from a portfolio than you can online.
Funny enough, I always ask applicants to come with hard copies of their CVs.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, I still think paper first. I'm not of a digital generation, and I think a lot of people who are senior in the industry are the ones making decisions about work, and therefore you can't assume that they're as au fait and comfortable with digital formats as you might be. As somebody starting out.
We've had a number of people come in recently to do internships and have not brought CVs.
Yeah, I think it's really important to write down who you are and what you are so that somebody can establish you. Another thing I'm really hot on, and this isn't even for a writing job, is grammar. I mean, I had a CV that I was looking at today with apostrophes in the wrong place, and apologise, it's my pet bugbear. Go on our website and look at Anna's apostrophe class in case you don't know where to use where and how to use apostrophes. But it's really important. It's it's like the difference between £10 and £100 is critical. The use of an apostrophe is critical, and I expect things to be spelled properly. And
grammar is what it is all about.
It's very important. It's not. It's if you don't know it, that doesn't matter. But I think if you don't take trouble in your CV to check your spelling and check your grammar, it just looks sloppy and lazy.
It's a difference between not knowing something and taking the time to look it up.
Yeah.
What it means is you haven't taken the time to look it up.
Looks lazy. I wouldn't give anybody an internship, or I wouldn't even consider them for the next stage of a job if they had a poorly presented CV with spelling and grammatical errors in it. It's just bottom line for me, because it implies that they don't care enough about that, and that's them. They're representing themselves. Why are they going to care about the job that I might give them and pay them money to do?
How many internships do you think is too many?
I get to the point where I can't remember people's names. That's slightly worrying. As far as internships go, I don't believe in keeping people on for a long time, because I don't think that's fair. You can work out fairly quickly, within a couple of weeks, whether someone has an aptitude for a job. They can work out whether they've enjoyed it and whether they want to do more of that type of job. But I think longer than that, and you're sort of stepping into we need that work doing, and we haven't got anybody else, and we don't really want to pay anybody else for it. We do 2-week internships at BeautyMART. If somebody desperately wants to stay on longer, and we think that we'd like to have them for longer, and they think that they'll get more out of a longer period of time with us, they can ask us and we'll consider letting them stay.
When do you think you should, I mean, how many internships as a young person should you do before you go out there and actually look for the job?
I kind of think you should be looking for the job at the same time. I don't think the two things are sort of mutually exclusive. I think while doing the internships, friends with people, you're asking if you can help them, not just for the job that you're doing, but you should be talking to the wider circle of people that you work with and identifying opportunities, maybe outside of what you want to focus on. My first job was in the civil service. It wasn't what I wanted to do. Wasn't what I've ended up doing. So I don't think you should assume that the first job you get is the job, your dream job of a lifetime. You'll probably have to, kiss a lot of frogs before you meet the prince. And I think that's
I'm still kissing.
I think that's so true of work.
So that leads me on to my final question, which is experience versus who you know.
I think both are important. Or to get an internship, it helps to have experience. But if you know somebody who's working at the company, whether they're a relative or a friend, then you absolutely need to pull on that contact. That's what they're there for. They won't mind. They probably get asked all the time. And when you eventually end up as a sort of senior person in the job you want to do, you should also help other people to get in, especially if you can identify somebody with talent and you think has promise. I think it has to be both. It has to be.
I think the thing is with
what
who
you know,
with who you know, you shouldn't be ashamed to pull on those strings as long as you're prepared and willing to work very hard and not embarrass yourself or a family member or somebody else. Because that's all people care about, isn't it?
There's an element of kind of living up to it. If you do ask somebody to recommend you and they do recommend you, you have to absolutely deliver. You can't slack off because you've exposed someone else.
And presumably experience leads to who you know, because you get to build your contact base.
It's what Millie was saying earlier about if you're at a college and you're meeting other people who are doing the same thing or they're teaching a profession, then you not only get to know them, if you dig a little deeper and actually don't be overtly pushy, but certainly be enthusiastic and helpful. And there's a chance that they then might invite you, they might introduce you to their contacts as well. So knowing one person isn't ever just one person, it's everyone else they know. So be aware of those. And don't be too in somebody's face, but certainly be keen and eager and there and present and willing. Don't expect people to come to you and don't expect them to know what you have to say to somebody. I really want to do this job. I know it's going to take me a few years to get there. I'm trying everything I can to head in the right direction. What do you advise? Who can I talk to? Can I help you? I'm prepared to work for nothing for a limited period to gain experience. What advice can you give me? All of those questions are really relevant.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.